Epic Games, Spotify, and more whining. This is MacVoices. MacVoices is supported by Collective, an all-in-one financial solution for the self-employed. Learn more at collective.com. Today's MacVoices is supported by Kolide. Kolide ensures only secure devices can access your cloud apps. It's zero trust, tailor-made for Okta. Book a demo today at kolide.com/MacVoices. Welcome to MacVoices. This is the talk of the Apple community.
Underpants.
Chuck Joyner. Okay, that was a delayed one, folks.
That was a first.
Jeff must be getting old.
Yeah, we're having
keeping it fresh, Chuck.
Connectivity problems.
It's just Zoom.
It's that week off.
Timing's everything, isn't it?
It is.
You can tell, folks, it's going to be a good night. Right out of the box, we don't even get the intro. Oh, so this is MacVoices Live. In case you couldn't figure that out. We do this Tuesday nights, 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific, whatever time that is, wherever you are, on YouTube at youtube.com/MacVoicesTV. We would love to have you join us. We have friends already joining us in the chat room. I was a little concerned because I was off for a week while I was at NAB, but everybody came roaring back in. So here we go. And in the chat room, I even see Brittany says that she's listening while she packs to go home. So Brittany, get home so you can get here. We miss you. Also want to throw a shout out to our buddy Frank Petrie, who's struggling a little bit with his health again. And so Frank, if you're listening tonight, we're thinking of you. We hope you're doing okay. Hang in there.
Yeah, please.
With that, we've got a lot to get to, so I'm just going to go and we'll start the panel introductions and then get to the topics. So as usual, first in, Seat of the Angels, Mr. David Ginsburg. David, good to have you.
Good to be here. I'm glad we're back on track doing the MacVoices Live this week. It's very a lot of great news we can talk about this week, and it's going to be a great show. We got a lot of good panel members. I'm excited here.
Yeah, I'm hoping that now my schedule won't be disrupted for at least another month and a half at minimum. So we should be a lot more consistent than we have been. April was just a weird month.
Yeah, it seems like it. Good to be here.
Eric Bolden is here. This time, though, he doesn't have giant flower petals behind him. He just has sticks.
Goldfinches.
Oh, okay.
They're tiny, but they're little yellow dots in the background. I was trying to be distracting.
Oh, okay. Okay. Well, I was kind of into the idea that you were reaching around behind the petals.
I can still go through the let's see, where's the tree? Is it this one?
Oh,
yeah, I can almost go behind it. It's
it
close.
almost looks like you're reaching into the tree. Yeah, okay. I'll go with that. Brian Flanagan-Arthurs is here. Brian, it's good to have you. Thanks so much.
A pleasure. Thank you for having me. Good to be here.
I love you and Webb are the only guys now that wear ties. I'm impressed. Webb's not tonight, but some nights I feel like I need to up my game.
I got to support my sons too. Hopefully they get the win tonight.
Oh, well, good luck. Good luck.
Yeah.
For the first time in a long time on MacVoices Live, we've talked to him on the regular MacVoices show, but Mike Potter, Mr. Macstock, is here. Mike, it's great to have you. Glad you could make it.
Always great to be here, Chuck. And, from the best dressed podcaster, tech podcaster out there, to compliment someone else on their ties, I think that's a pretty high honor. Me, I'm wearing a hoodie. So,
well, I've got a quarter zip on today because I'm afraid to say this in front of some of the panel members, but it was kind of cold here today. So
it is here too.
Oh, okay. And Brittany in the chat room says, should she start showing up in a tie? Yes, Britt, definitely. Please do. Please do. Mr. Webb Bixby is here, all red.
Hi, Chuck. Good to be here.
We missed you, Webb. Good to see you. Sounds like your April schedule was like mine.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Well, it finished up with my board meeting and executive committee, also called the President's Quarterly Performance Review. So
Wow.
Yesterday I had a tie. And about 24 hours ago, I was crawling in bed going to sleep, and I slept for about 12, 13 hours. So,
wow.
So,
well, you obviously needed it.
Yep.
Speaking of sleeping, Mr. Jeff Gamet is here. Not sure what that meant, but anyway.
But I approve of that transition. Well done, Chuck.
Thank you.
And
Thank you.
It's good to see you again. I also am wearing a tie tonight, just not conventionally.
That's a picture I really didn't need.
Oh man!
And now you have it.
Oh,
You're welcome.
man. And Jeff, you're the one that I'm kind of afraid to mention it being a little cool here, because it's, from what I saw in the news, it looks like your part of the country may be getting pounded with snow.
Yes, we're in a weird spot at the moment. The weather, as it moved down in, it kind of opened up around us. So Denver and Boulder, we're just getting really cold rain right now. But I can drive like 15, 20 minutes west, and that would be stupid to do, because then I'd be stuck in horrible snow.
Wow.
But it's okay. It may still hit down here too.
Okay. Well, as long as you're warm and dry and safe where you are for tonight, that's good. That's good.
I am warm and dry and safe for the moment.
Okay. Jim Rea has joined us as well. He was glowing green a little bit earlier. Now he's not. Jim, good to have you.
Boy, am I relieved. And as Dave said, we've got a lot of great panelists tonight, and me.
Oh,
Nice.
last but absolutely not least, Harry Belmont is here. Oh, wait, no, that's not right. Mark Fuccio is here.
Hello,
Mark.
everybody.
Good to see you. Good to see you.
Been a long time, many weeks. So hopefully we have good discussion tonight.
Yeah, definitely. I've until I saw your background, I did not know that Mr. Belafonte had passed away today. That's too bad.
Yeah, I think 96 of congestive heart failure. I mean, he's one of the all-time greats. Born into this utter poverty, and just on skill and hard work alone, made a fortune and made a great career, and helped a lot for civil rights. So he goes down in one of the list of the good guys.
Yeah, he always struck me as a very classy guy, no question about it. So here we go. We've got a lot to catch up on. Some of these are a little bit old, but I definitely wanted to highlight some of them and get the panel's thoughts. This one, though, came from yesterday, and that is that Apple prevailed in its battle against Epic Games.
Great.
Yay.
And I think this will have cascading effect onto one of the other stories that you put in there for discussion.
Okay, good. I'm not sure which one, but good. Yeah, I mean, I read this. Basically, I'm not sure exactly Apple was 100% exonerated, but it's certainly, the way I read it, it was about 95%. And they didn't get tagged with the monopolist label. And the only thing I couldn't tell at this level is if Epic might appeal yet again. I don't know if that's an option for them or not, but
it's a lawsuit, right? So there's always an option, to appeal again, whether they want to. But I think in the judgment, basically, Epic's claims about all the evils of Apple's App Store and how they're discriminating against other developers, and Epic in particular, all of those were tossed out. The only thing that was upheld was apparently in California, there's laws regarding how companies can or can't squelch, passing on other consumer. It's sort of motivated by consumer protection of allowing lower cost manufacturers, to share information, and how various media companies, need to not squelch that and pass that on. So that was upheld. Not exactly sure what that means, for Apple, but I'll speculate in a minute. Everything else got slapped down. to me, interestingly, the opinion, and I put that in the our Slack dialogue, and Chuck, maybe you want to put it in the show notes for people who want to read it, because it took me a little bit of time to dig and find it. But reading the court's opinion, they were very sympathetic, to the idea that Apple creating a curated app store that limits, viruses and malware and other things is differentiation. That's part of how they compete. It's not a monopoly. It's just Google lets shit into the schoolyard, and Apple takes a very high standard. And that's a very graphic way to say it. Like George Patton used to say, he says it dirty and loud when he wants people to hear it and understand it and remember it. So, I think, the court was, very receptive to Apple's arguments that, not allowing side loading of apps, et cetera, is a way that Apple, competes and provides value to its end customers. So I think that will come back again if we talk about some of the Spotify topics later on. But, I think, it seems like a pretty clear victory. And also the other thing the court, basically turned back down is, it said that lower court, said that Apple was not entitled to attorney's fees. And it said that, it ruled an error, and it, passed it back down to the lower court, for further work, which basically means, mommy and dad are saying, you screwed up, son or daughter, you need to go make this right. So we'll have to see what happens, because I can't imagine that's, anything less than, 50, maybe even $100 million of, legal fees that Apple has wasted on this. And, given the willful nature and the planned nature by which Epic attacked first Apple and then Google, it sounds like, this is them putting them over the knee and good old fashioned parenting, giving them a good spanking. So over to somebody else.
I would love to see that, Mark, because that to me has always been one of the poison pills that should be put in place, that if you lose decisively, you should have to pay the other guy's legal fees. So I'm hopeful. I'm not sure I'm optimistic, but I'm hopeful that might be the case. It will only hurt Epic so much, but it will hurt them. No question about it. Anybody else have any strong feelings about this one? It sort of is what it is, but I was happy to see it.
Chuck, I subscribed to Ben Thompson's Stratechery newsletter, and he had a pretty long article on it today. And I don't want to come off as, one, I know what I'm talking about, and two, I've read the whole article, because I have not. But it was kind of interesting that at one point it was a win, but was it really? One of the things that it did do was that it kind of set the ground rules for any other appellate court actions that was determined at the Ninth Circuit. So it'll be interesting to see what happens next, especially with follow-up suits, and not just necessarily the appeal from the Apple case, but other software vendors and Apple or in App Store type arguments that might come in. It was interesting, though, as I get in here, and I don't want to quote the newsletter, but they were saying that they kind of questioned, based on California's, what do they call it, the California unfair competition law,
Yes.
that through that, whether it is that big a win, it's kind of a push, is my interpretation. But so they really won at the federal level, and they kind of got a push at the state level. So it'll be interesting to see what happens next. But it's
so Webb, is it true that the next this is a Ninth Circuit court, that there's only one other court, and that's the Supreme Court, and who knows if they'll take it or not, but it seems that they're pretty far at the end of the line, and they've lost consistently.
Yeah, but didn't you also say? Because again, I haven't read it. want to come off that I know all the details of this one. That there were some things that were pushed back down to the trial court level, or one was pushed down.
That was just legal fees. Whether Epic has to pay Apple's legal fees.
And here again, that could go either way. It all depends on how the court feels. I understand what you're saying, Chuck, is that if you win wholeheartedly, you should have to pay legal fees. But I don't think the courts actually see it that way sometimes. But
yeah, well,
that's been my experience. So
it was mine too, Webb, unfortunately, but I still think it should be that way. So,
oh yeah.
Yeah, I wonder how soon before we hear, Epic start to whine again about, Apple being unfair. And that sort of does lead into, Mark, I think this was the story you were talking about, that I guess Biden has, where is it? Spotify CEO wants Congress and Biden administration to rein in Apple's quote unquote stranglehold on app stores. What can I say? It really is interesting that we have the same people complaining about the same things over and over and over.
Right. Exactly. I think, interestingly, just so happened, Spotify had, I guess they announced their earnings call. And I woke up this morning, had bright and early, had an email saying there's a Form 10-6, which is basically foreign companies. So I'll just bottom line it, because we talked about this, I think maybe 3 months ago, about how badly managed we felt Spotify was then. I just say another quarter where their revenue was up, like 22%. Their operating expenses were up 36%. So quoting George Patton, these guys are just effing stupid, and they're just trying to delay the. Actually, let me restate that. They're bad management. They're betting on things that are not working out for them, and they're hoping that they can somehow duke Apple, into charging less, because they're purely motivated by money. The reason is that their premium subscribers last quarter on average yielded them $12.91 of revenue, of which they're only like 12%. Their free subscribers, i.e. the ad-supported, only earned $1.04 of revenue for them. And interestingly, if you look at the gross margin, which is profits after cost of producing whatever the good or service is, their premium podcasts have a 28.6 gross margin. Their free their free loaders have a negative 3% gross margin. So 88% of their users are paying them nothing. And Daniel Ek is bitching and moaning that, they're getting screwed by Apple and trying to confuse the issue about app stores, because that's a broader trend going on around the world. When in the Spotify case, they just have a bad business model. They should just start, Daniel, I'll give you free consulting. Cut off your free users as of, May 1st. You're just grinding up, shareholder, value, and all this other stuff. I think is just a distraction, because I think with what the Ninth Court of Appeals, Ninth District said, Apple having a competitive app store is a source of differentiation, i.e., people voluntarily choose to go into the sticky walled garden from which it may be difficult to emerge in the future, but they're doing that knowingly. And, Spotify just has a bad business, and I'm sure we'll talk again about this 3 months from now when they have their next bad, yet another quarter of losses.
This edition of MacVoices is supported by Kolide at kolide.com/MacVoices. Our sponsor, Kolide, has some big news. If you're an Okta user, they can get your entire fleet to 100% compliance. How? If a device isn't compliant, the user can't log into your cloud apps until they fix the problem. It's that simple. Kolide patches one of the major holes in zero trust architecture, device compliance. Without Kolide, IT struggles to solve basic problems like keeping everyone's OS and browser up to date. Unsecure devices are logging into your company's apps because there's nothing there to stop them. Kolide is the only device trust solution that enforces compliance as part of authentication, and it's built to work seamlessly with Okta. The moment Kolide's agent detects a problem, it alerts the user and gives them instructions to fix it. If they don't fix the problem within a set time, they're blocked. Kolide's method means fewer support tickets, less frustration, and most importantly, 100% fleet compliance. Visit kolide.com/MacVoices to learn more or book a demo. That's Kolide, KOLIDE.com/MacVoices. Kolide.com/MacVoices. Thanks to Kolide for their support of MacVoices. Today's MacVoices is supported by Collective, an all-in-one financial solution for the self-employed. Are you one of the many who make some, most, or all of your money freelancing or running a small solo business? Maybe you're a photographer, a content creator, or consultant. You love the flexibility of what you do, but hate the crushing busy work that every solo entrepreneur has to deal with. All that paperwork, from business formation to taxes and everything in between. If that's you, then you need to know about Collective at collective.com. Collective is the all-in-one financial solution for freelancers, contractors, and self-employed entrepreneurs, especially if your profits total $60,000 or more per year. Collective can handle your taxes, bookkeeping, accounting, and even payroll, along with corporate formation and compliance paperwork. They have the perfect mix of technology and human experts to help guide you and take away the busy work. Now, this is important. If you've already made money this year, but don't have an S Corp election, right now through June 30th, Collective can save you thousands of dollars on taxes in 2023 because they're able to backdate your S Corp election to January 1st. And that can mean a savings of, on average, $10,000 per year on taxes. So don't wait. Go to collective.com and save on taxes this year, and have someone who knows what they're doing handle your setup, accounting, bookkeeping, and taxes, even your personal taxes. That's collective.com. Thanks to Collective for their support of MacVoices. Jim, you make an interesting point in the Slack, and I want you to just bring it up because we've been down that road before, but I think it's a very fair point. You're muted, Jim.
Oh yeah, because I was having a coughing fit.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, we keep hearing from Epic and Spotify because they're companies that have a big megaphone. But there are plenty of small developers with complaints about the App Store. We just don't hear about them because they're small developers. I think it's kind of unfortunate. Epic was sort of probably a poor test case. They're not a very, who wants Epic to win? They're kind of a predatory company themselves. So it's probably unfortunate that this was the case that came up.
I don't know. I mean, I know that you and I don't, and I won't speak for the rest of the panel, but you and I don't especially agree on some of these aspects of the App Store. But at the end of the day, trying to tag them as monopolists, and I mean, I just go back to the same thing. It's their store, and if you don't like to be in their store, then don't be in their store. But having Spotify complain about it when they're a direct competitor to Apple. In fact, they were there ahead of time. They were there before. I'm pretty sure I've got that right. Before Apple Music as a service.
Mm-hmm.
So, it's Apple challenged them, and Apple took them on, and they've had every opportunity to do some of the things Apple has done, and they didn't. To Mark's point, they have a different business model. It doesn't appear to be working. They've made some big bets on some things, and they lost. They rolled the dice and lost. And I know I've asked
for
this
what it's
question.
worth, I put my money where my mouth is. I don't have an app in the store, in any
Yeah.
app stores.
Yeah, and I respect that. I respect that. I know I've asked this question of the group before. Do we have any paid Spotify users?
I used to be. Long story. Spotify's in the Tesla, so I subscribed to it for that. I discontinued it when they could get Apple Music in the Tesla instead. So I did subscribe to it for that very reason, but I haven't renewed it. I let it expire. I did a 1 year thing where you bought the 1 year card off Amazon and then you put that in. Otherwise, you got to pay month to month. So anyway, I did have it. Don't have it anymore.
How long ago or recent was that, Webb?
Within the last 18 months, and it expired within the last 6. So,
Mike, did I see your hand going up?
I was trying to remember if the service that we use for our small retail shop is if the parent company is Spotify or not. It's called Soundtrack Your Brand, and it's a nice, inexpensive way to license music for retail shops. And it was something that we could afford. And I'm trying to recall, and I can't find it, if they're owned by Spotify or not.
Well, there's another commerce vendor, Shopify, that sounds similar.
Yeah, no, this is Soundtrack Your Brand is what it's called.
Okay.
And it's specifically to license music for play in your store. You're not supposed to stick on a CD or the radio or anything like that. So you license music like Muzak, that's for elevator music. And so we license music to play in the store. And it's, like I said, it's very reasonable for us to do compared to some of the other services. Oh, yeah, it is Spotify. Yep. So make your Spotify playlist legal. So you can build playlists within Spotify and then license that playlist for your retail store via Soundtrack Your Brand.
I was going to say,
so
that looks just like Spotify.
Yeah.
Yeah, Spotify bought into them a few years ago. Yep. So you're right. It's Spotify.
So we're not paying for Spotify. We're paying for Soundtrack Your Brand, but the playlists come by way of Spotify. So in a way we are.
I'd love to know if the artist gets the same level royalties.
Yeah, I don't know the answer to that, but
yeah, I don't either. It seems, it makes a certain amount of sense, because if you're going to do that, you're probably going to be generating a lot more royalties, because you're going to be playing theoretically and almost probably a lot more time.
Well, we're playing the same playlist over and over and over again.
Yeah.
So yeah.
And that's not a game that Apple has gotten into, I don't think.
No.
Much to my wife's chagrin, we're playing the same playlist over and over again. I have to build a new playlist for her, and I haven't done that yet.
All right. Well, again, it's a lot more of the same. The same arguments. I'm not sure we're going to solve any of them, unfortunately, but I know I was glad to see that.
So again, just to kick a dead horse, talking about artist royalties, isn't that another area where Apple is better treating to artists than Spotify? Don't they pay them some multiple dramatically higher per play, per stream, or aggregated to hundreds or thousands of plays, whatever their demarcation unit is. But isn't Apple paying artists significantly more than what Spotify is paying them?
They're paying them more. I don't think it's significantly more, and part of that is dictated by the record labels.
But it seems more generous than what Spotify was doing.
Help me, Jeff. Help me understand that, because that sounds a little funny. So you were saying the record label will tell Apple, you distribute and stream tremendous amounts of music. We'll charge you more per play, or than the other guys. Or are they saying, okay, Apple is saying, we are on the side of artists and we will pay you more per play than all the others out there?
Well, okay, so Apple has to negotiate licensing deals with the record labels. So, unless it's an artist that is not associated with a label and owns their own music.
Taylor Swift, for example.
So, yeah, like Taylor Swift's new stuff. So, what Apple has to do is negotiate how much they're paying per play with with each record label, and so Apple, part of their thing was when they set up their streaming stuff initially was that they wanted to be paying more to the artists, so the artists are getting a higher royalty amount for each play than they otherwise would have. So Apple has worked some deal where the where artists are getting a little bit more, but it's still just fractions of pennies. It's more, but it's like saying you're thirsty. Well, here's a drop of water, but wait, I have a friend here who'll give you 3 drops of water.
Yeah, I get it. I get it, but I mean that's the nature of the recorded music business, or publishing business. That
Brian just threw something in our chat. Spotify versus Apple Music versus Tidal. Who pays artists more? And according to this, well, Brian, you probably read it more than I did. I was taking a quick look at this, but it looks like definitely Apple pays the most.
Yeah, I didn't. I was just glancing through the article. I was just searching for it myself, and I think that's the indication. But I haven't read about Tidal yet, so I'm not sure how much they pay in comparison to the other two.
Well, the irony is Tidal was supposed to be paying more to everyone. That was part of their thing, and in the end, it doesn't seem that it's worked out that way. And in several cases, artists have actually had to sue Tidal to try and get any money out of them at all.
Oh, cash poor again, a weak business model. Sorry.
And
Tidal's big problem. Well, Tidal had many big problems. Okay, so Tidal was a dumpster fire, but when they screwed themselves out of their own differentiator, that was a big problem because their thing was, we give you audio quality that's better than anyone else. And when they changed so that they're doing the same thing as everyone else, there was no real differentiator anymore. So why would you use Tidal when you already have Spotify or Apple Music?
Right. Yeah.
And Jay-Z was backing it.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, there you go.
That's where the money went. Jeff, something I don't know because I never paid that much attention to Tidal even from the get-go. Did Tidal drop their quality or did Apple and everybody else raise theirs?
Okay, so the correct answer, which is also kind of a smart-ass answer, is yes. So what happened was Tidal added in a music tier at a lower price, which was the same as what everyone else is offering. And then Apple and Amazon and Google Play, they all added in the higher quality content, which then matched what Tidal was offering. But in the case of like Apple and Amazon, you didn't have to pay more to get it. So you're paying what you're paying at Apple, for example, to get all this high-res music is the same as what you're paying at Tidal to have the lower res music. And then you had to pay more to get the stuff that now you can get at Apple and Amazon. And that already took a shaky business model that Tidal was working with and kind of threw it out the window.
The panel is back in the next edition of MacVoices to talk about how to listen to high-res audio and why you may want to consider buying DVDs or Blu-rays of your favorite movies and TV programs. That's next time on MacVoices. I will see you then. As always, I'm Chuck Joyner. Thanks for watching. Visit MacVoices.com for show notes and to connect with Chuck on social media. Get involved in our Facebook group or like our Facebook page, and get more out of your Apple tech with MacVoices Magazine, free on Flipboard and on the web.
And if you find value in it all, consider supporting us through either our Patreon campaign at patreon.com/MacVoices or by making a one-time donation via the PayPal link on our front page and in the show notes of each episode. You will join these fine people who help bring you Mac Voices. Advertising handled by Backbeat Media at backbeatmedia.com. Bandwidth provided by CacheFly at cachefly.com.